Though I do have a physical copy of the book on my bookshelf.
That's why, like, you know, I don't have a lot of, like, because all of these I got secondhand at, like, a library sale or something.
That's good.
And it's so hard to find, like leftist books, like, secondhand.
Yeah. No, I usually, if I really like a book and broadly want to support either the author or the direction of the book, or if I can, like, even fucking Mark Carney's book, which was, I hate Mark Carney because I had to read that fucker's whole book.
Yeah, he's a Liberal Party, like, a higher up.
Yeah, his book,
is he
like,
the one...
I did as an audiobook. The first 8 hours were great. The next 8 hours were, like, mediocre. The final 8 hours, I would literally just, like, hit record on my phone, scream at it to Bennett, and just, like, send it his way, because some of his ideas for solving things were just like, what if we just asked investors to, like, be nice? No, I think he didn't even do that much. He was like, what if we had investors read, like, a pamphlet on climate change, and they would just do the right thing?
Oh, I love that.
Right.
It was pretty brutal.
We should get started, because I want to be home.
Yeah, it's already started. We're good.
Okay.
Oh, where are you going?
Yeah.
Is Mark Carney the guy who is pegged to replace one of the replacements? Well, that's not going to happen.
Probably alleged
Freeland,
retraitement. Actually, that's a good first thing we could cover.
Okay. Well, first I wanted to bring up the fact that I, like, 4 times, between myself and my mother, right?
Yeah.
4 times in, like, 2 days, we were stopped by just large convoys of vehicles driving around, right? There was a highway shutdown, I was sitting on an on-ramp, and then, like, 10 big black, like, SUVs drove past. And then, the next day, Bennett sent that the day that I was stuck, Dr. Umar
was in Toronto.
Oh my god.
He was at Jane and Finch Mall.
When you said that,
which I was at Jane and Finch.
He was at Jane and Finch Mall.
Yeah.
Shout out Dr. Umar because that's that's where you go. but also when you said several black SUVs, I was like, okay, this has to be like someone higher than Trudeau. Like Trudeau came around and he didn't have that kind of security. Yeah. Dr. Umar. Oh my god.
Look, we our last episode we talked about
we talked about Dr. Umar at length.
Yeah.
Oh,
we talked about his reporting on Shannon Sharp getting Snow Bunny, not Instagram, which was great. But actually, I have a friend who's a construction worker, and his coworker is kind of like a Red Pill podcast guy, where it's like,
and he's got a successful sort of, kind of like Afrocentrist Red Pill podcast.
Oh, I need to consume this actually.
And I'll send you a link. They had Dr. Umar on there. And
this Canadian guy?
Yeah. That's why Dr. Umar was in Toronto, was to be on this podcast.
This specifically for this?
Yeah.
Wow. Do you know how much he paid for it?
No idea. I could ask, actually. I should ask.
We should ask Dr. Umar how much it would cost to get him on the show.
Please find out.
Not be able to do it alone.
we would just we get Nana to do it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think I could crowdfund a little something to get him to get back here.
Umar
he would have to go back to Jane and Finch. He wouldn't be able to stand being downtown, I think.
No, Umar was talking about just like broad, some like just some African stuff.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, like, as a fucking white guy in the corner who does, like, enjoys a lot of the kind of civil rights history and all of that, I'm like, I kind of am aware that I'm on the fringes of this. So I was, like, listening to it, and he was actually just a fucking phenomenal speaker.
Yeah,
and then the guy asked him a question, and he's just like, Umar, how do you balance, like, the fact that you're such a memed, funny guy with all the stuff that you're actually cooking? And Dr. Umar was like, well, that's the thing. You, like, see something of me being a little stupid, and then you listen to one of my podcasts and get hooked on Pan-Africanism, and I felt really called out. I was like 30 minutes into just listening to every word he was saying, and I was loving it.
Yeah, that's the thing with Dr. Umar. Like, you can listen. Like, okay, he'll talk for like 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
And for like every 45 minutes, you're like hooked. You're like, wait, is he gonna like land this plane perfectly? Like, is this guy? Because he's like, he's spitting bars like so hard, and then like hit you with the worst
corniest thing of all time.
Yeah, like out of nowhere, like and then like his interracial shit just gets out of hand too.
Yeah.
Oh man,
this guy has to have a thing for white women.
He is he seems like to be more upset by the concept of a black man dating a white woman than a white man dating a black woman, which is like the inverse of how racists usually are.
Yeah. That's I never thought of that actually. Yeah. That's very true.
Look, white women occupy at least like 30% of his brain power.
No, Caribbean queens occupy 110%. If you've seen enough Dr. Umar videos, you know he's really into thick-thighed, 5'5" Caribbean queens.
He's got good taste, man. What can I say?
That's what he's always saying. That's
I understand him. I understand him. Man. It's not his fault.
But yeah, I mean, shout out Dr. Umar. Like, I mean, it's like 75%. Shout out to 75% of Dr. Umar because the rest of it, but the rest of them could go down.
He was like telling his story of like trying to open a school and it constantly being shut down, and I was like fascinated by this story. And then I looked it up, and it's like he never proposed a plan to actually open the school or something.
Oh my god!
So it's like I don't know who to believe after just finishing reading Fred.
Dr. Umar is a big liar.
Yeah, exactly.
He loves lying.
Frederick Douglass descendant.
Alleged Frederick Douglass descendant Dr. Umar loves lying.
Oh
man. But I don't know. I feel like he's such a great yapper.
He's such a funny guy.
Yeah.
I was listening to the podcast and he was talking for like 20 minutes uninterrupted. And the host tried to like add on to something to ask him a question, and Dr. Umar was just like, I'll answer your question, but never interrupt me again.
I would shit my pants right there. I feel like I couldn't never interrupt me again. Oh my god.
That was so funny. But I gotta say, like, I'm not one for
5,000 lashes for behavior unbefitting of black men.
I mean, man, you cannot talk 20 minutes though without a fucking interruption. I feel like
especially on a podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna edit this down.
A podcast like this, we can hardly get like 15 seconds out uninterrupted, let alone 20 minutes.
Is it one of those podcasts that's recorded like video as well, or is it just video?
They had like a really nice, clean video setup, which I'm kind of convinced that I never want to have.
Yeah. No, I think once you do that, you can't. You've put yourself in the.
What?
Oh,
TikTok?
TikTok?
No,
yeah.
TikTok.
Okay, you put yourself in the realm of like those like manosphere.
Like Andrew Tate types.
Yeah, but even he doesn't do a podcast, I don't think. But like, there are so many people. Does he?
I always see videos of him talking in his annoying voice.
Oh, I thought, yeah. Oh, God,
I think he's always on other people's shows, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't pay enough to Andrew Tate.
Yeah, but you align yourself with that, even though you're not talking about that content. Like, people see, every time I see like that, like, someone sitting on a couch with like a mic in their mouth saying something. Next, because it's almost always like nonsense.
It's always that format of podcast where they get like an OnlyFans star on.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Guys, look out for our OnlyFans episode, our OnlyFans star episode,
where we put Shrey on OnlyFans and
then he reports back.
Yeah. No, but I feel like when you start doing the polished video thing, there's kind of this like. You are aware that you're putting investment into your show, and there's inherently you want to make this investment back. Where if I'm just doing audio, like I can just sit here and chat for fucking ever, and I don't really care if I'm not making any money. I don't really have any plans to monetize anything. I just kind of like sitting here and chatting about shit. If I was to set up like a whole room and do all of that, it would change.
Now you gotta think of like the LED lighting and like the back panel, the neon.
Actually, we could probably set up like on the left we have the same thing though, right? It's like you got Novara Media and those guys, but they try to set up like a news look.
They're a podcast. Every time I saw
I see clips of them podcast with video shit. You know,
I see clips of them on Twitter. I assume like a news kind of thing. Yeah.
Sorry. Speaking of Andrew Tate, this is the most recent thing I saw from him.
Yeah.
Tweet. Quote. Tristan, his brother, decided to install beehives in the garden so nobody can go outside without getting stung. I said anyone who is scared of bees is a pussy, but we don't need hives. 2 hours of convo, and now bees are coming. We will live in a bee-infested house because complaining is gay.
Oh my god.
Oh man, wow.
Look, he chefed again.
He landed.
Occasionally he cooks.
He landed. Yeah, I feel like I feel like he sounds bored, bro. Like, he sounds like this is the most mundane thing to tweet about. Me and my brother were arguing that.
2 hours about the whether or not we should intentionally infest our house with bees.
Yeah, this is the same guy who hit us with the Star Wars is gay banger. Do you remember that?
No.
That was my first introduction to Andrew Tate, and I thought I saw it. I was like, oh, this is one of those like. Mm-hmm. I think he was still memeing. Like, there's no way someone actually thinks that about like watching Star Wars. He's like, here's my car I got because I don't watch Star Wars. I fuck bitches because I don't watch Star Wars. Like, bro, what the fuck is going on here? Like, but that was my first introduction to him, and now he's like tweeting like. I'm arguing with my brother about beehives and stuff like that.
He's hitting too much galaxy gas.
This is what you do
what is
when
with
you're
the galaxy gas shit? Yo,
Bro, okay,
we covered galaxy gas in the last episode, but since then I will like to clarify to the audience. Galaxy Gas, which presents itself as a food supply company, sells 1-unit containers that contain 2,000 grams of nitrous oxide, which is enough for like 20,000 servings of whipped cream.
For your restaurant needs. Also, Nan, have you ever done Whippets?
No, I haven't.
Alright, you want to do Galaxy Gas?
No. Let me tell you something. Black people don't do that, and I've seen
enough
videos.
video evidence that they do.
Yes, and that is the CIA op. This is the CIA dropping crack in black communities all over again. They've gone into the hood and dropped tanks of Galaxy Gas, and now people are recording videos of them. It's so terrifying to see people like do it and like knock themselves out with this shit. Like,
it's a new evolution of the knockout game where you knock yourself out.
It's crazy how so far ahead of the curve Kanye West always is. He was doing Galaxy Gas like a year ago.
Yeah,
man, he had his own personal supply. Yeah, he was trying to make it legal or something like that. Whatever that text was.
He's in both senses of the word a futurist.
Yeah.
Look, if I can get my hands on like a 20-pack of Galaxy Gas things, I'm doing Galaxy Gas.
You can do it and report back.
I'll do it 10 times and report back on the show. All right.
On air.
I'm in, yeah. I just won't talk much.
God,
people will just be sitting there
website?
waiting while I like nod out and then come back in.
Last episode we were scrolling through their merch. They have a merchandise section on the website.
They have Galaxy Gas Pyrexes.
You can buy a Galaxy Gas lunch bag for your kid.
Can you imagine showing up to work with a Galaxy Gas lunchbox?
Yeah.
No, I can't. If it wasn't for how much disdain I have over Galaxy Gas, I kind of would get the merch though. I feel like
the CIA is kind of cooking just a little bit on this one.
But yeah.
Anyways, let's get on topic.
Wait, we're recording now?
We are recording.
We've been recording for
like 20 minutes.
For 15 minutes, yeah.
Cycling back to Mark Carney as a potential replacement to Trudeau, there are no potential replacements to Trudeau because despite a confrontation between him and the Liberal caucus, he refuses to step down. Quote, a defiant Trudeau says he's staying on as leader after caucus revolt.
Thousand-year Trudeau Reich.
Look, I've had a theory which I'm proud has made the mainstream. And I've had this theory for a while. I really hope I've said it on the podcast, but, you know, I have no clue what's flown out of my mouth in the past, so. But I thought that the reason Trudeau, like, he's doing pretty terribly. Liberals are just designed to be means tested. That's it. If they're doing terribly in the polls, I figure they would swap something out. Mm-hmm. And Trudeau's, like, gone through a divorce in his time. I think he's ready to step down, you know?
Holy shit.
So, It's like, I have a feeling, and when it first came out that Poilievre was not getting a security clearance and Trudeau was not stepping down, two dots connected in my brain. And then the last week I was checking Reddit and suddenly everyone is talking about how, like, he probably has dirt on it. But I genuinely have a feeling that Trudeau has some, like, serious political dirt on Poilievre and is just waiting for the election to draw closer to drop it.
The thing is, like, he can't like, if it's sort of like foreign compromise stuff, like, he can't really, I think we said this in the last episode, like, he can't do this without wiping out half the Liberal caucus, too.
Yeah, because the foreign interference report probably contains like half the Liberal Party.
Okay, I was gonna say Liberals are definitely involved, but did you see the interview of Jagmeet saying like the NDP is not in this? He said like, I've seen reports, none of my guys are in there.
which I do believe.
Yeah,
but the Liberal Party definitely.
I mean, think of it this way: it was probably some like realpolitik on like China and India's part. It's like these guys are going nowhere. Why the fuck would we pay money to get them in power?
Yeah, they're not involved, but that's not their choice.
Yeah. I think, well, like I think there definitely is like some dirt on Polyev. Because Jagmeet said the same thing. He said like, there's. My guys are cool, you know. I've looked over the docs, you know. My guys are clean, but the conservatives need to, you know, get their shit together. Like, they need to like, because it's, I mean, obviously, Polyev knows like some shit is in there. That's why he doesn't want to get clearance, right? Is that like
it's plausible deniability?
He's the only leader now. The Bloc is also. Blanchet, the leader of the Bloc, has got clearance now.
Oh,
so he's the only one.
Literally just him.
Yeah.
So. I don't know, man.
Who do you think's funding the Bloc?
That's
the real
honestly,
question.
I would say, I would say
against
Russia will fund the Bloc.
Yeah.
China, the Liberal Party.
Yeah.
India, the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my lineup. I think.
But wait, they said there was influence from 4 countries. Oh, maybe they just don't include the USA as capital.
I mean, to be honest, if you did a true foreign influence report on the MPs, all of them would be compromised by the United States.
Yeah.
So they probably just don't count the United States, and I guess that leaves us with China, Russia, India, and Israel.
Yeah.
There was there was some sort of like list they put out. It was like Iran, India, China, and then there was 3 redacted countries.
Israel would definitely be in there.
Israel, United States, and I think like probably Ukraine in that the sense that there's a large because like a lot of these also operate through like ethnic diasporas as well.
Yeah.
We have like, I don't know, we have such a dumb population and like dumb media that doesn't like see this like whole stunt from Polyev and be like, I don't know, are people not expecting more from it's disappointing. I mean, I saw like the poll on how many people are like now conservatives. Or like the distribution and like I don't know, man.
But I mean, like, look at how great Trudeau's done in like 10 years in office.
So okay, I guess that's the thing. Like
10,000 more.
Things in many ways materially have declined.
Yeah.
And even if a lot of it can also lay with like the premiers, it's still also a lot of the animus is going to go to the leader of the country because it's like, this happened on your watch.
I guess so.
Yeah, I think if Trudeau's banking on like an October surprise style upset where he reveals Poilievre is paid for by India or whatever, I think he's in for a rude awakening. That's like so like idealist to believe he can overcome the abysmal material conditions of Canada to win off of a Poilievre scandal at the 11th hour.
Yeah.
But like, God, it doesn't even feel likely at this point. I think it's just because people are so sick of Trudeau.
Yeah.
Like maybe it'll impact a vote like seat share, but like.
I don't think it will impact.
I want to know if
all.
it's something that will just get like Poilievre straight removed. And then the Conservative Party would have to, like, figure it out and just be sent to the chaos.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's something like that. Because the fact that he's not stepped down, everyone's expecting him to step down. We had some info that he was going to step down a year ago, but then
he did.
Israel happened.
Yeah, he didn't because of Israel.
Then, like, it has been a constant thing. Like, everyone knows it. They had the caucus.
Yeah. So 24 MPs got together and demanded he step down, and he just said no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
Trudeau?
Yeah. He's got to have something.
Like, paper or whatever, like that report.
They actually they called a meeting with him and demanded he get out of the way.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That is some balls I didn't expect Liberals to have, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I thought they would just like pussyfoot and just like.
Nah, I think. Well, I mean, the quotes on the CBC were like, these MPs think they're gonna lose their jobs if he isn't gone.
I see. Yeah. I mean, fair enough, I guess, but yeah.
It's not looking the hottest in the world.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna lose your job still, and now you made some enemies in the Liberal Party. It's crazy.
Okay. Let's talk about Ontario promises to pay for ripping out bike lanes that fail unannounced criteria.
I had a good transition to this actually. I've got this turbocharged unicycle, right?
Yeah.
And luckily, because I know that they're only expanding bike lanes and I'll be able to get away with it because these don't exist in our legislation, I have been absolutely terrorizing every single road, especially around Doug Ford's house. All right?
Isn't it Etobicoke?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tettenhall Drive, Etobicoke.
I have been an absolute menace. So, anyways, Bennett, you said you had some bike lane updates. I have to assume this is good. What's up?
Ontario promises to pay for ripping out bike lanes that fail unannounced criteria.
Fuck.
The Ford government is promising to pay the cost of removing bike lanes from major city streets that fail to meet its unannounced criteria as it plows ahead with a plan to limit biking infrastructure. So the provincial government wants to ban the creation of new bike lanes and is promising to remove existing bike lanes to replace with a second lane of traffic on roads with bike lanes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do we have a list of the ones he's proposing?
Yeah, he specifically said, I think either today or yesterday, that he specifically wants to go after the ones on Bloor.
No.
The ones on...
I use that shit like 4 days a week.
Bloor, Yonge, University, and Eglinton West.
Yeah. So here's the great thing, is that we redesigned Bloor because it was a traffic shithole.
Yeah.
So we decided to do something else. And guess what? In terms of cars, it's still a traffic shithole.
Yeah.
But also, I can go east to west in Toronto on Bloor and just have a great time super fast without having to worry about anything. So we're going to go back from now it's a traffic shithole that I can comfortably bike through, back to being a traffic shithole that I can't bike through.
Yeah, so... Premier Doug Ford announced we will remove and replace existing bike lanes on primary roads that are bringing traffic in our cities to a standstill. The Transport Minister Prabmeet Sarkaria said, "Not everybody can use a bike to get around.
Kill yourself.
These are some of our major arterial roads. Whether it is Bloor, University, or Yonge, people need to get to and from work."
All right, can everybody use a car to get around?
So the thing is that I love how it's like some like moron GTA MP who's too lazy and stupid to take the GO train to work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think... Oh God, this is so annoying. I feel like the...
Also, my aunt knows him, too. Because my aunt works...
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because they have but...
Alright, future Spencer,
really?
bleep that.
Wow. Yeah, I think, like, if you know these streets, like, you can maybe get 1.5 lanes out of...
Bloor specifically, like, outside of downtown, it's even with those bike lanes removed, it's functionally 2 lanes with, like, on-street parking.
Yeah, and I think... thank you very much, because that's the stupidest part of all. Like, the most area where you can, like, bring more car lanes is in a downtown area where you... Like, it's gonna be hell regardless. Like, who really thinks, like, adding a lane is gonna, like... Okay, so the thing about this driving thing and why actually a lot of people supported this bike lane shit is because a lot of drivers, first of all, Toronto has a lot of car brain people, obviously, like people who just love to be in their cars. When I was in high school, we had a parking lot, and most of the people in my high school, I think we were supposed to live like within a 15-minute walk of the high school, but we still had a parking lot. People would drive to school, like. That's the car brain like thing starting.
Yeah. The Carcuck Bike Cell axis is the central axis of Toronto politics. In our mayoral review, we rated everyone on a scale of -10 to +10 for car cuckery.
Yeah,
remember?
Yeah.
I think a classic.
Yeah.
Bennett's best invention, by the way.
The Carcuck Bike Cell axis.
Yeah.
What a chow score.
His real theory hours.
Actually, let me check. I'll have to dig it out.
Yeah. But anyway, I think like. So the car brain thing starts like pretty young, but the reason why this whole thing has started up is because there are so much more bikers, and the people in cars are just jealous. Like, they are stuck in traffic, and like whereas like maybe 3 years ago you see like 1 bike, 2 bikes pass you out on traffic. Now you see like 6, 10. Like it's like they're there infuriated that like people are actually getting to where they need to go, and so like they're like, oh, like in some fantasy world maybe I can drive on this bike lane and that would help traffic, and like God, it's so stupid.
No, I think the reason why we see this reactionary backlash against bike lanes is I think from two discrete policies of like the attempt to extend bike lanes on I think Bloor into Mississauga.
Yeah.
And also the extension of the Bloor bike lanes in Etobicoke into Etobicoke from their current terminus that are on Runnymede and Bloor to Kipling and Bloor, because I know for a fact everyone there was like who was like an older person and freaking hated it. Mm-hmm. Like so many people were complaining about it, and as soon as it was put up, a lot of complaints were going up, and so I think pretty much the bike lanes being put in my neighborhood is what is starting this backlash, because it's a conservative riding.
Yeah,
that is like
in West Toronto, which is Ford Landing.
And like literally you can run like to Ford at the fucking
we're like in the immediate riding south of Doug Ford's. I think
the riding I grew up in, I would trick or treat at Doug Ford's house, because he would be on the sort of like a road over. That's why I said I called out his address earlier on. I said.
Currently,
he moved recently though.
Did he move there?
I think he moved recently.
Well, anyways, when I was growing up, he lived there, and he would have on Halloween.
How's his candy haul from there?
Yeah,
pretty good actually.
Yeah.
But he would have.
I trust that guy to have some good.
But he would have a pumpkin out front that would have Ford Nation carved into it instead of like a jack-o'-lantern.
Ford Nation.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
This was back in the day.
Well, this was back when he and his brother Rob were on city council.
Oh, okay.
Right? And that
so it's still kind of like trying to build like kind of like
the brand,
crackhead bros.
Anyways, Olivia Chow's car cuck score was -4, so on the bike sell side.
She doesn't have a driver's license, so she would have to be bike sell.
Yeah. And okay, so here's the thing. This is Olivia Chow's like chance to really like, you know.
I think this is like the first like big public disagreement she might have with Ford.
She did say that she's just not gonna do this.
Yeah, well, because, like, she was, like, a big bike person. She literally does not have a license. She bikes to City Hall.
Right.
She was famous for biking with her late husband, Jack Layton, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they even got, like, a tandem bike as, like, a wedding gift.
That's pretty
That goes
cool.
crazy.
She is, like, a big, like, cyclist person. So I feel like she probably might have to do some confrontation with Ford over this, even though it's such like almost in the grand scheme of like running the city in some ways quite small. But I feel like if she kind of caves on this, it would just kind of make her look bad.
Yeah.
Well, like this is something that is kind of like part of her brand that people have known about for years, and if she like folds on this, it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, I also think like it's one of those things where all these places from all around the world have changed from like strictly car infrastructure and diversified it, and it's worked out for them. And we're like 50 years behind, and all reversing this will do is ensure that we need to restart a like bike lane infrastructure change in another 10 years when we're just going to be like 10 years plus 5 years of getting it ready. It's just going to be another like 65 years behind now.
Yeah. The thing was like Toronto's like biking infrastructure plan, while what we have is good, the rate at which they improve it is like is so bad. Like you just hear, Bloor is like got new bike lanes, and like holy shit, this is really good. Oh, it's done. That's it. Like they do it like I don't know, like 5 kilometers at a time, which isn't like, if someone who is like using that to like go to work still has to like still go onto dangerous traffic, they will probably not want to do that. Like it doesn't encourage much more bikers, and now it's definitely not going to encourage anyone.
No, I know Eglinton, they're adding a lot of bike lanes too, and I went recently all the way like from east side of Toronto to west side of Toronto, west side of Toronto to east side of Toronto. I did both, and both of them just constantly had me like, there would be a bike lane for 100 meters, and then now that I'm out of traffic, I would have to merge back into traffic, which is the dangerous part, because you don't know if the person is paying attention or not. Yeah. So it's like, at that point, if there's only 50 to 100 meters of bike lane, I stay in traffic because I know the person behind me isn't going to hit me if I'm in the middle of the road. But also, like, I've seen so many intersections where, like you were saying earlier, the light changes and maybe like 4 or 5 cars get through because it's stuck, and then the light changes again, and in the meantime, like 12 to 15 cyclists go through. But then I've been in the car end of that with some friends who are very much on the car side of things.
Yeah.
And they're all just like, these bike lanes are always empty. And I'm like, more cyclists have gone through this light than cars right now. Like, this is busier than the roads. It just doesn't back it up like
now
that.
I see it. The perception, it's not even that they see people pass them. It's like they see no one there. It's the time where there's no one there that really cheeses them.
Yeah, because cars are like the most space inefficient method of transportation.
Right.
And which means that, like, yeah, for shopping you need to park and then shop, which means on top of your body you're holding up like a 3 meter by 5 meter square or something. I don't know how big cars are, but that's a parking spot, and that spot must remain empty with no people the whole time. Like, that's not good for the surrounding businesses. Bikes, you just chuck it on a pile of bikes and then try to yank it out at the end.
Yeah, I mean, this is on Olivia Child. Like, we'll see what if she actually does it. Like,
balls in her court.
Yeah.
We need a cycle Stalin for this city if we want to get bike lanes. So let's see if Olivia chows the chops for that.
Yeah.
What this city needs is not a cycle Stalin, but a landlord Mao. A Canadian mega landlord using AI pricing scheme as it massively hikes rents.
You've heard about the crimes of algorithmic pricing, but get ready, this algorithm is way more complicated.
So it's sold as sort of AI pricing scheme, but what it really is just congealing confidential rental data from a bunch of landlords who are colluding together in order to reveal to landlords the real housing price. So that they can jack up rents in a coordinated, almost medieval guild-like price-fixing effort.
So this is illegal in the U.S. for sure, but like, what is it like in Canada? Is it also?
It was made illegal in the U.S. after it was a major national scandal.
Oh, recently.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. And was it because
Clowns
of these
of Congress
guys?
finally did something.
Was it because of Yieldstar this scandal that did it, or was it another?
I believe it was Yieldstar, yes.
Wow. Okay, so.
All right.
So the FBI ended up raiding corporate landlords using the software after it was made illegal.
Okay, so I guess
that's actually pretty crazy.
Is it the fact that it's software that's the new part that's not like
I think,
codified into law?
I feel like
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Price fixing is usually illegal.
Yeah.
But I do like the quote.
Banger quote.
Let's see if we can find the context. Too much empathy.
Just read the quote.
One of the main developers of the software used by Yieldstar told ProPublica that landlords had, quote, too much empathy, unquote, compared to the algorithmic pricing software.
Oh my god.
Landlords have it too bad out there.
We need to make it better.
The beauty of Yieldstar is that it pushes you to go to places you wouldn't have gone if you weren't using it.
So what type of places
This
is
is
it pushing us to go?
evil software, and this is what like God, the software developers are like actually the most evil people on earth. It's like saying like, because if you know anything about renting, you know like one of the scariest things like how high is my rent gonna go up if I'm not in a rent controlled apartment, and if your house was built, I don't know, in the last I think it's 2017 or something like that.
I think November. If you have occupied a space after November 2018,
2018.
If a space has been occupied since after that date, it's not subject to rent control.
Right.
Yeah.
And even then, like your landlord is most likely gonna raise your rents. So these guys are saying, look, you're raising your rents $150, $200. You can raise it $1,000. Why are you tripping, bro? Like, let's just like it's wild. Like, God, I hate it so much.
So
holy shit.
The real secret of all of this stuff is that rents are the housing crisis, because what happens is like rents are designed like the best way. What a landlord wants to do with their rent is they want to make the most money. And a person gets paid a wage, they have to spend a certain amount on the absolute necessities of life, and then they have disposable income. The ideal thing to do for rent is take up as much of that disposable income as humanly possible,
Right.
while still having a tenant. Or if you don't have a tenant, your expenses will go down drastically, so you want to place it in a way that you will get a tenant in the future. So if you want to talk about like why housing is so expensive, it's because it's as much as people can just barely afford or just barely not afford. And AI is the perfect type of thing to find out exactly how much someone can technically spend on rent very begrudgingly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that is what creates housing prices, is the price of a house is paying out up front the right to collect those rents in the future. Mm-hmm. So that's why algorithmic pricing and that is so devastating, especially under, let's go with a capitalist system per se. Is that when companies want to be productive or want to make investments, they can't do that when all excess money is just sucked up by rent-seeking landlords. Mm-hmm. When all money that goes to their workers is just sucked up by their landlords, they, one, get workers that won't do as much, and two, just cannot afford to invest more into productive things because they need to give more to their workers who are spending it all on rent. It really is just like something that murders everything. So I just finished a book on this. I'm particularly landlord hating right now. So this story came out at the right time.
It is funny that the victims of this are still mystified by the myth of the free market. It says radicalized nobody as, quote, "The irony of all this is that this isn't the free market," said Padavani of the York Southwestern Tenants Unit. "This isn't a market where landlords compete against one another to try and fill their buildings. In fact, it's the opposite." No, it's the free market.
They're just competing better. That's the point, is they're competing so good that you can't compete.
Yeah.
You lost. You lost. You can't just blame that it's not the market when you lost at the market.
Yeah.
I hate these fuckers. Time to investigate.
It's that was the York Southwestern Tenants Union. So the victims.
Wait, the tenants union is saying that?
Yes.
They like the landlord market?
No, they're saying the existence of the algorithmic price fixing is not the free market.
Okay,
it's an attempt to use their language, I guess, to argue against it.
I guess they're trying to appeal to like middle classers to back them or something.
That's never gonna go.
That's not gonna happen. Those are the people that dream of owning the house that your tenant is staying.
You can't appeal to Hitler's sense of empathy.
Well, I think if you listen to anyone, I have like several friends who want to become landlords.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god.
I've told one of my close friends, like, man, I'm honest with you, bro. If you become a landlord, you and I were not gonna. we can't hang out anymore. Yeah. But it's such a prevalent thing like these days. It's like invest in landlord or invest in real estate. You know, it's like it's like if you're not someone who thinks about like being a landlord the way that you describe, Spencer, like you're gonna want to do it. And
I mean, even if you think about it the way Spencer describes, if your goal is to make money, then you're gonna do it. Especially if there's a higher yield on interest, like from owning something, than there is from actually producing something.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the major things of Canada is we complain about the productivity crisis, where one, landlords fundamentally destroy productivity because of property investments. But two, another side effect of that is it becomes more profitable to invest in non-productive assets like land than it is to invest in real business, which not only produces something but is riskier because it doesn't have 100% backing of the government to guarantee profitability. We cannot have housing go down because pension plans have kind of been hollowed out by people just saying, "Oh, you'll sell your house when you retire."
Now, of the 30 companies using this software, while south of the border, the U.S. raids the offices of landlords using this software, there is a happy ending here. Dream Unlimited has entered into lucrative public-private partnerships with the government. Instead, so our landlords up here aren't getting investigated. They're teaming up with the government to make more money off.
I mean, they're one and the same because like 45% of MPs are landlords.
Yeah.
Including Jagmeet Singh through his wife.
Yeah.
Wow.
So for another however many years
Workers
this lasts,
party.
the housing crisis and the productivity crisis, which are practically the same crisis, are guaranteed to not get solved.
Yeah. I mean, Canada, you're allowed to... There are certain, like... They look the other way with price fixing. Sometimes it's illegal, sometimes it's not. I mean, there's pretty open price fixing in, like, food production.
Yeah, we've had, like, which company was it? Loblaws?
Loblaws?
Yeah.
They actually did something illegal.
The bread
Loblaws.
price fixing. And then we're kind of like, we know that they're doing it again, but it's like, it's chill because they're not doing it as much or something.
But also the farmers' guilds engage in price fixing. Like
Dairy Farmers of Ontario, which are like literally the puppet masters of Ontario.
Yeah.
The dairy kulaks
Dairy in
Ontario.
Ontario is kind of like oil in the Middle East from the perspective of America.
You know,
It's like they
jokes
need
about,
that shit.
Jokes about that. I thought you were just joking. It's like because of how like I don't know aggressive the marketing is for dairy farmers of Ontario. Like I feel like you never see. I don't know the beef farmers, making like ads for. I mean, I've seen actually a few like beef ads, like courtesy of McDonald's and stuff, but like not to the extent of like.
But like
going to the movies and they're reminding you that the popcorn is brought to you by the dairy farmers of Ontario.
like, honey isn't really a staple as compared to like milk and milk products.
Honey?
Yeah, like you're not eating like honey a lot.
Speak for yourself. I drink that shit.
Anyways. Next thing.
Oh, I actually had some extra spins that I wanted to go over before this.
I have to go in 15 minutes.
The fuck, dog?
It's 8:41.
It's 8...
It takes an hour for me to get home.
Oh my god. Alright.
We would have been here 30 minutes earlier if someone hadn't,
Took forever.
let's say, taken the bike
I got
lanes
here.
to-
He took the TTC.
If I didn't rely on fucking Google, piece of shit, to get me there, I'm only human, alright? I'm losing a little bit of faith in Google. Google, please offer me discounts on something.
I mean,
I'll be back.
I can just leave partway through and you guys can keep going.
Yeah, I guess so. That might work. But yeah, one of the things that's really been boggling my mind, if we turn our eyes down south to the States, which we got two Twitter heads here, I figure you guys are both aware of what's going on down there.
Yes.
What?
Well, maybe not.
I feel like this is two examples of Twitter users. Like, you got exactly what he was talking about? I have no idea.
Oh, I'm just like, you're generally on Twitter and watch some.
No, but
American
what is
politics.
going on down south?
All right,
What are you referring to?
Okay, well, I was getting there, actually, believe it or not.
Get there.
But shut up. Okay, this is generally something that's been driving me fucking mad about the Dems down there. Is now that Kissinger is dead, we have a new most evil person potentially in the States with Dick Cheney, who the Democrats have teamed up with and are really flaunting that, which I find highly suspicious. And with Dick Cheney now as their big partner, they really seem to be heavily invested in warmongering in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Which...
I mean, they were always sort of into it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll call it even suspicious. I think
remember, like 2/3 of the American population generally supported invading Iraq.
Yeah,
this is also like the American people too.
Yeah, though I figured maybe the Dems would try to not say Dick Cheney is our closest ally. Now that looking back, Iraq was a little bit of a misstep, is how I'll put it.
Yeah, I don't know where this started, but like there does seem to be like this kind of like, Bush dropped some bombs.
One or two.
But why can't he come up on Ellen? Why can't he hug up with the guys? Why can't he they're doing the same thing with Dick Cheney? And I feel like this is what liberals would have done in private, and it's the only thing I'm surprised about is like how brazen that they are with it now. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, like even Tim Walz is going on Jim Stewart. What's his name? Last name is Stewart. What's his name? John Stewart. Yeah. Jim Stewart.
One letter off.
But he was on Jon Stewart saying like, oh, like just a whole crock of shit. Like I don't know. I don't even want to like hear Dick Cheney's name like in any, I don't know, positive life. But then again, this is a Democrat. I don't know what are we gonna do.
Yeah, and I'll do a 2-second spiral again, going towards your article, which is like the whole Israel-Palestine thing has actually been kind of getting to me recently, now that like my life has calmed down and I've had time to process things more.
Yeah.
But Kamala Harris going, there have been so many atrocities happening in Gaza, but the most important one was October 7th. And that brought me that like vitriolic rage that makes a high schooler punch a locker.
Yeah.
You know, it made me remember why high schoolers would punch lockers despite knowing that the locker always wins.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like
Kamala Harris at it again.
It feels like she's doing the most to lose.
Yeah.
But so is Trump too. It feels like they're both.
It's at least to the bottom. Yeah.
They both seem to be throwing the election in favor of the other party.
I think it's either they're both doing it on purpose because they think there's some sort of economic collapse coming and they don't want to be holding the bag.
Yeah.
Or they are both. They just don't. They legitimately don't care. Like Trump is just too old and tired. Kamala is on the galaxy gas.
Yeah.
Like
I think Kamala has like a sort of hubris that like, well, it's backed up by like the coconut fans, online, that makes her feel like I have this base that's gonna vote for me, and so let me do all I can to like get like these other guys who are who might be the worst people you've ever heard of in life. But as long as we get some conservative votes from these swing states, I think it's worth it. While also losing. But
also that's so stupid because like any sort of like Republican who is like gonna vote is not gonna vote Democrat. Yep. They're not. The only way that you don't get them to vote for the Republicans is that you just don't get them to vote at all. You
should have convinced RFK to stay in. That's the way.
Hell yeah.
They should have
ran RFK.
Kamala should have gotten Mossad to pull up whatever Epstein shit they have on RFK to get him to stay in the race.
Yeah, to stay in the race. Yeah. I'm pretty sure RFK was pulling votes from both, or from like people who don't vote generally.
Yeah.
Like I think when he endorsed Trump, that was sending people to Trump rather than releasing them back to him.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because I mean, his base is mostly like people who were nostalgic for JFK, which aren't necessarily like politically engaged or Trump voting people.
I don't know, because like people who are nostalgic for JFK is like any baby boomer who was alive during JFK's presidency.
Yeah, but specifically was like JFK was the guy for me.
Yeah.
Wait, what year is 32 years a boomer?
What?
32 years old?
Yeah.
That would be like a millennial.
Okay, so I read an article for RFK in the New York Times. This 32-year-old guy who's like, I'm voting for RFK, and I think this is like, it's those people you described, and then also like,
RFK is also like the
dumbest.
Yeah.
Like apolitical.
Like, yeah.
He's very much a candidate for like the California crowd, like crunchy granola crystals kind of people. Yeah, the people who are like, I don't like to think about politics until I don't know. It's actually
until they see like one homeless black person in the neighborhood.
People whose brains were broken by like COVID.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's actually 100% true.
Yeah. When Kamala first showed up, because she ran like just a bit left of Biden on everything in the last election, and I thought like, oh okay, well maybe now that it is like her and everyone's gonna rally behind her, I wonder what's gonna happen and if she's going to kind of leak out like not everything, but a couple slightly more progressive policies.
No.
What I was not expecting was her just to take a hard right turn to where sometimes I'm like genuinely considering, is she running to the right of Trump on like a bunch of issues?
So
it's kind of whack.
The thing is that most of the people who worked on the Biden campaign are now on the Kamala campaign.
Yeah.
So it's functionally the same campaign. That's why people they lost all the momentum they could have had was because they were like, oh, thank God it's not Biden running anymore.
Did that happen before the VP debate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As soon as they did the internal party coup against Biden running.
Because that debate is the most that was the most I don't know.
That was so dumb.
It was so bad. I think first of all, when you say the first question was, I think this was right after Israel had struck someone, or there was.
They've done 4 high-profile assassinations.
Yeah. And so they asked about
it.
Yeah, they asked about it, and what's his name? Tim Walz's answer was. It
was a race of who could suck Israel's dick more.
See, that's the funny thing. Well, okay, that's the funny thing. Tim Walz went directly to, this war started on October 7th, whatever. And J.D. Vance did a smart thing of avoiding the question entirely and saying, hi, I'm J.D. Vance, let me introduce myself. Something that, he didn't answer the question, but a lot of people don't really expect the politicians to directly answer the question anyway.
Yeah. Sorry, VP debate where the first question isn't even about America.
Yeah.
Also, the existence of the VP debate is kind of crazy, considering the only reason you have a vice president is in case the president dies. The vice president has no other duties except tiebreaker voting in the Senate.
If you watch the VP debate, you would think he could do a lot.
I mean, this might be just the Groyper plot to get a Groyper president, because who the fuck knows how long Trump will last if he wins another term.
Trump is immortal.
Yeah.
Trump will drop dead the moment it is no longer possible for him to be president again. But he would survive a full term.
One of you mentioned they both seem like they want to lose. The difference I think is Trump is doing Harris is doing things that I don't know, it's just baffling, but I don't know, whatever she thinks she's doing. Trump seems to be doing things that he seems to enjoy, but has literally nothing.
He has no juice left.
Oh, yeah. Because the whole thing at that thing where he's I don't want to talk anymore.
Yeah, let's just listen to music.
Yeah. He's like that.
He ended a rally. He ended a rally recently 20 minutes early just to listen to music with the crowd.
Yeah,
which is crazy because in his prime he was going 4 hours over time.
Freestyling too.
Yeah.
Trump being one of the only gay presidents there on the planet.
For what it's worth,
he's the Queenie New York guy who loves show tunes.
For what it's worth, 538's Monte Carlo simulation puts Trump wins 51%, Harris wins 49%.
Yeah.
In the current, so it's pretty much a toss-up.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I think that Kamala Harris is genuinely trying to win, but cannot stop fucking it up because of all the ways that she has to pander to her disaster party.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And Trump is he would mess it up, but he's just not smart enough to. He's too dumb to mess things up as bad as Kamala does. So what's holding him back is the fact that he's that dumb.
Yeah.
And between those
he
two,
kind of doesn't want it.
Yeah.
You think he actually still wants to be president.
Yeah. What's
I've
his
heard,
big hit?
That he's kind of over it.
I was at a concert recently. The guy had a soundboard, and he just every now and then he would just play "They're eating the dogs," and everyone laughed. That's funny. That's a banger. Look, we've already said in his rookie season, he was dropping a banger every time he opened his mouth.
Yeah, his rookie season.
That's because he was young and spry.
Yeah.
Young and spry.
Young and spry, 78 years old.
Also, it feels like Kamala is fully just the incumbent. Biden does not exist anymore.
Because they're running, the incumbent, Joe Biden's campaign is now Kamala's campaign.
But
they're running it in the same way, with the same energy and the same people and the same message, so it's just functionally the same sclerotic campaign.
I could genuinely not tell you if Biden is alive right now. Spare the fact that I haven't actively heard news that he's dead.
It is very funny how he's just disappeared.
Yeah.
He just doesn't exist anymore.
Last I heard about Biden was September 11th. This is how I know. It's because he was doing his rounds, and there's a reporter asked him what he's doing. He's like, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna go do 9/11. And I was like, let's go.
to support President Joe Biden.
Holy king!
Oh god.
To the martyr Joe Biden.
They got to bring back Biden.
Yeah.
Right?
You gotta vote it right in Joe Biden. If you're an American listening to this, write in Joe Biden. They stole the election from him.
We're talking to you.
Yeah, the liberal elites have stolen the election from Biden.
Joe Biden.
It was really funny how the Republicans went with that for like a month after.
Yeah, it is pretty funny how indignant Trump was about Biden getting.
Well, because they were like, "Ah, shit, I'm actually gonna have to run a campaign now."
Yeah.
Instead of sleepwalking to victory, because even though like Kamala Harris's campaign is shitting the bed, it's still gone from like a Trump blowout to a Trump toss-up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I have one more article to cover before I have to head out, but you guys can keep recording.
Mm-hmm.
Israel considering U.S. firm for biometric screening of Palestinians in Gaza. I chose this article because of the quote, "Uber for war zones."
This might be the best thing after first came Uber for dogs.
Yeah.
And then next was Uber for cricket.
Sorry, let me cut you off right there. What is Uber for dogs? You rent a dog?
This is it's just a shit meme.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Don't worry.
It's like the archetypical bad
Tech thing.
like archetypical bad
Startup idea.
like
bad
idea to
startup
present
that's
on
made
Shark
to
Tank.
sell.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
you. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, it's just a startup that's made to sell out. The second Uber is like, damn, we can't have a competing Uber.
Now
we now
what-
need to offer this service, and they buy it for like 10 million.
Now, what this article is about, or this story in general is about, is Israel is going to start building concentration camps in Gaza.
Concentration camps within the concentration camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
shit.
Israel will be deploying this company to create a quote gated community in Gaza where Palestinians will be subjected to biometric screenings to receive aid, according to media
A
reports.
gated community where
Yeah.
they're not allowed to enter or leave at their own volition. They're forced to do work as obscenely cheap labor.
Yeah.
They're gunned down or killed whenever they are whenever
Yeah.
the oppressor feels like it.
It's-
And now they have science experiments being run on them.
Yeah, so Israel is calling these communities, quote, humanitarian bubbles, because these are the only zones in Gaza they would allow aid into. So in January,
my God.
the International Court of Justice delivered a ruling ordering Israel to enable urgent basic services and humanitarian assistance into Gaza, which they have been blockading. Israel has been in violation of international law, subjecting regions of Gaza to siege warfare, preventing aid, food, and water from going into those areas.
Yeah.
So what their proposal is they'll set up concentration camps, and only Palestinians in these camps will receive food and water.
Yeah.
If at all.
So they've contracted a company that bills itself as Uber for war zones, according to the founder of the company,
So
which is
this
an
is the
insane
interesting
title.
fucking
Yeah, I think
The theory that all tech bros are Hitler remains undefeated.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
basically, what this guy does is he is like who you go to if you want to hire concentration camp guards. He says personnel working for our security subcontractor are trained and equipped for non-lethal and lethal methods of crowd control.
This is
shit.
Wait, this is Ordinary Men by Browning. This is like the most perfect refined way that the Nazis used to take just random people and turn them into people that will do genocide.
Yeah.
It's the perfect model. It's the exact same thing.
And while this is going on, the settler movement in Israel has also held a conference of 700 settler families of the Orthodox community looking to settle in Gaza once the war finishes, which sort of is openly playing their hand that they want to ethnically cleanse the area.
Oh, they've been talking about
Yeah.
this for like months now.
Yeah, and the CEO of this company has endorsed ethnically cleansing Palestine. His name is something Kahana. Mordecai Kahana.
Is he related
tell
to
us-
the Kahan?
I don't know.
Like the Kahanists are like the most right wing Israelis. Like I think like I can't remember the guy's name, but like this guy Kahan founded like a lot of right wing settler organizations. The guy I can't remember the name, like there's like this American Jew who had immigrated to Israel who killed like a bunch of Palestinians in Hebron in like the 90s, and he was a follower of this Kahan guy.
It doesn't seem like he has any connection to the Kahans, other than his name.
Can you tell us the name of the company?
The company is Global Delivery Company.
What the fuck is
Oh
that?
no! This is how Israel names companies. This and like using the letters X and Z at the like to take a word and chop it in half, and they'll replace it with like an X.
You know who was actually at that Orthodox Jew conference, to like settler conference? It was Ben Gvir.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Because Ben Gvir is like deeply embedded in like the right wing settler movement. I think he specifically lives in the West Bank settlement.
Yeah.
So this like company already does this? What the fuck? Like they already carries out these concentration camps
Yeah,
somewhere?
basically, yeah. They've done stuff in Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, Ukraine, and now Gaza.
Wow.
Yeah.
So okay, I mentioned earlier that the Palestine situation has been increasingly distressing for me.
Yeah.
And a big part of this is like I've read several books and done a good like amount of study on the Holocaust. And you sit there as you read those books and you hear about people like getting like mental patients getting shoved into bunkers and like blown up with dynamite and stuff like that. And you sit there and you look around and you're like, well, we've like that's kind of in the past. Or you can also think like, if this was happening and I was there, how would I have acted? And I kind of sit here now and I'm just trying to like get by day. And I have like a podcast where I talk about shit, but I'm really not doing shit. And I find that increasingly distressing over time. But then I hear stuff like this, where like Ordinary Men by Browning that I'd mentioned is a book about, I forget the exact number, but a reserve police battalion for the SS or just the German army, I guess, in general. I forget exactly how the numbers roll out. And it talks about how there are people, like, from various places politically that, like, are all normal people, had normal jobs, some had families, some didn't have families, varying ages. There's no distinct thing that would turn these people into killers, but through a mixture of like growing up and being served a big plate of like national pride, and then like joining the army because they felt like it was a necessity because of the circumstances that they were under, and then like having some sort of camaraderie with the people in the army beside them, as well as like having the pressure of keeping that army job because it's something that pays and you're not sure if you're going to go back to your old job. And then an acknowledgement of like mental health, where for people that understand PTSD, usually you're pretty good when things are actually happening, but it's when you're removed from those situations where everything comes like crashing down and becomes crippling. And it's like, I'm looking at this like Israel stuff, and they just had an article come out about like guys who, like Israeli IDF soldiers that are getting PTSD because they're bulldozing living Palestinians, and like they can't stop getting visions of like the blood spurting out of their bodies as they're crushed once they're removed from the war zone. Yeah. And they've done the exact same thing, and it's like you just see shit and you know what's going on, and it's really been like mentally taxing for me. I was going to do a reading of like a nurse's note to Canada, just like, and there was one to Canada in one of the states of doctors and nurses who spend time in Gaza saying just like there are like bullet holes in all of the children that come to us, and it's like this shit's killing me. Yeah. And now they're just like fully committing to it. Yeah. I mean, they already fully committed to it, but now it's obvious. Yeah. Where it's like a quote-unquote Jewish state is how they advertise themselves, and they're just all in on, why don't we build some concentration camps? And I got, like, there's the core of my rant.
Yeah. Well, are you familiar with the book The Holocaust Industry by Norman Finkelstein?
Yes. I haven't read Norman Finkelstein, and I need to, man.
I mean, he basically wrote a book about how, like, the mythology and the Holocaust itself has been sort of used to justify like just a whole industry of people and like Zionism and all that stuff.
Yeah. No, and I was actually I just saw a thumbnail of a video that got me thinking. So I don't know the exact quality of it, but just like the legal definition of genocide being so technically specific, kind of like I mentioned with recessions earlier, how it's just GDP.
Yeah.
That now you can do so many humanitarian crises as long as you just double check whether you're not checking one of the boxes for what technically counts as genocide and you're not called.
I mean, an exception to that is that like pretty much every single genocide scholar has been saying, wow, this is one of the most easiest cases of genocide to prove, just because we have so much public evidence of the Israeli state and Israeli soldiers saying we are going to kill all Palestinians, and the videos of them killing Palestinians, because part of the thing about proving genocide is that there needs to be
top-down
intent, but also the bottom-up following of orders. Peace out.
All right, Ben is heading out. We'll wrap up soonish.
But I think like that, there's the media plays a big part in enabling, this whole thing. Was that CNN that did like that whole bulldoze PTSD kind of thing?
That was it was at CNN. You halfway through the article you find out that this guy had driven over living people in an armored bulldozer in Gaza.
They will literally sit down and talk to people who've committed atrocities, and so actually no, they won't, because people from CNN won't sit down with someone from the Taliban and have the same kind of with the same kind of passiveness, or you will find out in the first paragraph what this guy from the Taliban did, and not in the middle or the sixth or the seventh paragraph or something like that they ran over kids. And so there's obvious if I need to read it, but someone I forget the book, but someone recommended something about how the media covered the Holocaust, well, how the media covered all the events leading up to the Holocaust, and the specific the fact that there was they wanted to stay very neutral, and so they didn't cover any I don't know, fascist march or anything as intently as they should have, any of those things that today we would see as warning signs.
I mean, I it's not even neutral. So a lot of publications were very approving, because it was Hitlerism was used as anti-communism. So establishment newspapers are good. They're stopping the tide of Bolshevism.
Yeah, and then now we have the same thing today, and there's no, if there's anything over the last 3-4 years, there definitely has been a wide public shift in support for Palestine and against the genocide. But if there's one thing that's gonna that's not gonna do anything, is the fact that the media seems to be seems to stay put on their unwillingness to I don't know, cover fascism in the way that it deserves to be covered. And until that happens, we're fucked. But no, we're not fucked. Actually, I shouldn't say that. They're I think that actually is I don't know.
No, it's like Liam was saying, the whole anti-communism thing with the strongest anti-communists always being fascists and Nazis and stuff like that. But I kind of like your point with it being centrist, because it reminds me of the point where it's when we hear centrism now, it's always centrism as in liberals to conservatives or Democrats to Republicans, and picking a balance between those two. But a lot of people, if you're taking centrism as in what most people believe, a lot of the time it's completely outside of that. So what is centrism? Is it the centrism of what people believe, or is it what is directly between the two, dare I just call them, corporate parties?
Yes, that's the thing. People like to imagine that there is one if we have all the issues as each of them is a single line or spectrum or something, and from right to left, people like to think that the center is going to be exactly center of all these issues, when people on the right and the left, like on Israel, the Democrats and the Republicans are literally on the same side, like, right? Like, there's no, the center, if you want to be center of that, you're going to be like center of like one in genocide. It's not, there's no two ways about it.
Yeah, if either party, I think the biggest shift on a single issue that could happen in this election is if one of them said, we will guarantee that there is a ceasefire in Gaza day one of our presidency, they would go up further in the polls than on any other issue.
Yeah.
So if either side could almost guarantee an election victory just on that one thing, is saying we will guarantee a ceasefire, but neither of them can do it. They'll say like, oh yeah, we'll like work towards trying to maybe getting a ceasefire at some point.
Yeah, and that's at best. Man, Kamala Harris said when he said, oh, like, she said the things I've seen during October are atrocious. The thing I've seen about the deaths in Gaza are atrocious, but we have to remember that this started October 7th, whatever. Yeah. She had another version of that was like,
yeah, I know she's had like some very strange comments. One was having like the deadliest military, which is like, you're supposed to be the more progressive wing, you know, like you can try to do something military, but like she's going hard on border, hard on military, hard on Israel, and I sit there and I'm like, I thought you were supposed to be
better than Biden, or
more progressive than Trump.
I think, at this point,
Trump called her out saying that she doesn't care about brown people, and Trump's the guy that did the Muslim ban.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I think there was a poll recently that said like there's more Arab. Trump has now seen like a big increase in like Arab voters.
Yeah.
And I think the reaction from Democrats online just kind of solidifies why people are doing this in the first place. Like, people are like saying how it's I blame them kind of thing. When you have they sent a surrogate out to Michigan to try and help like corral people. Guess who they sent? Actually, I don't know if you Richie Torres.
I don't know.
Richie Torres, like such a notoriously Zionist guy that like he was crying on a podcast about how like him being Zionist cost him dates, and like he was like on like he was
why
like,
would you admit that?
I know. And he's Zionist by choice. There's no like. So I don't know. Sometimes I like to give like.
Who the fuck goes up and is just like, oh yeah, my political stances have gotten me less pussy.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
He's gay, so it's pussy even for him. Like that's the worst part. Like that's not even. I don't know. That's bad. But like he goes on crying about how little dates he's getting, or like how much people are rejecting him over like his stance on Zionism, and he sends him out to go to Michigan to go and try and like corral voters who may be uncommitted and stuff like that. Like, what are you doing? Like, I honestly don't know. I honestly don't. God, this is so. Hey, I don't live in the States. I take a little bit of joy in kind of seeing this play out, but then like because there's a few people who seem to think that the United States works on some kind of like superior level when it comes to how they are democratic and organized in their elections and whatever kind of like stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And I think every time something happens to dirty that to tarnish that legacy or whatever, that fake legacy of like being a democratic country, I support whatever. Mm-hmm. And so whatever, like, I think the only thing about this is like, it might be good. I don't know. It might be. Some people might see this and be like, "Man, the country's fucked up." But like, a lot of people in the U.S. will see that and still not do anything. Like I don't feel hopeful when I think about anything about, I don't know, even Canada's future, to be honest, because we're kind of trudging along the same route while still wanting to be I don't know, different a little bit, but like it's still like a slow but certain like, you know.
Yeah, no, our
disaster.
like certain things like housing policy that we touched on earlier. Our housing policy is pretty much an exact historical carbon copy of what happened in the UK, of favoring landlord conditions, claiming that it will build more houses, and it didn't do that. Favoring like landlord rent flexibility and stuff like that, claiming that it will help drive more like market stuff there to build houses. Not going to happen. Doing the supply and demand thing for houses did not work there. It's not going to work here. And it's like it is a little insane, and I've started to kind of come to terms with it by just understanding that like almost all of these politicians we have are almost certainly just going home after yelling at each other for the day and then just like scrolling TikTok for 5 hours to the next day instead of actually reading what they're supposed to read.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's like, at least I figured that part out. But it doesn't, it doesn't help the overall course of things.
No, and there's I don't know, there's like, in Canada, one of the things that's bad, I'm assuming this based on like my perception of what I see online, but it feels like people in the States have more awareness of their local politicians or local politics. And maybe it's because like the local politicians are like as belligerent as like, the Trumps and stuff, because you like people like you can go from like your Marjorie Taylor Greens to like the Trump level and find anyone, or how if you go below the Marjorie Taylor Greene, anyone in between who is just as like insane on that level. But then in Canada, the politicians are just so boringly bad, and like it's so boringly evil that like people are happy to be, as long as like thinking of me, my individual self, as long as like I can survive, I don't think about any kind of politics whatsoever. Well, not speaking of, but like there's a general sense of like that's how the general Canadian. I think people our age are starting to be like. I think if you ask anyone, I'm gonna ask,
houses, since the fact that no one can buy a house has kind of really forced our generation to at least acknowledge our political climate to some extent.
Yeah, that's true. I think no, you're right. Especially the fact that plus the recent the rapid and steep decline in affordability, I guess, and the price of like groceries, which like if people want to, like, I don't know, it's who you read a lot more about this than I would, right? Like if you were to assign blame on like why this happened, who would you assign to?
Oh, if I'm supposed to be getting really specific, I mean, you can always, like, rip out the classics where you could blame, like, Harper and stuff like that. How do I forget the guy that was right before? I don't know, it's getting late, my brain's slowing down.
I don't even remember.
But, like, there are... The guy who did NAFTA. Mulroney. Yeah. It's like I could probably have a decent argument to assign blame on them, but frankly, like, I've resigned to the point that a lot of our political direction is just kind of an extension put onto America's political direction. The UK and America were both going that direction. We were going to follow no matter what we tried to do because of how Canada is. I do wish people could get more aggressive with their politics, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, how am I supposed to just wish for cultural change? I don't think it just happens that smoothly. I think we're really stuck in it. We could try to break out of it. It does seem like there were a lot of, like, telegraphed perfect conservative victories that are somehow turning NDP and stuff. So maybe that is a way that we're starting to break out of it. But
I think we should we should start asking questions, start asking like our friends and family like hard questions that we're used to, and it doesn't have to be like fighting questions too. It doesn't have to be like, hey, like, so I think like one thing that I'll be like, hey, is like, who are you voting for, or do you know who you're voting for, and just like do this the Socrates thing is just like, why, like.
Yeah.
Just keep
ask
asking
around a bit.
Yeah,
Make it so at least they understand why they're thinking what they think.
Exactly, and you will definitely get to a point where they realize that they don't know enough to make a decision on whatever decision they want to make, even though they have to make that decision.
Yeah.
Because look, we're in our late 20s, right? Mid to late 20s, and so like this is like we're not kids anymore. Like this is life. This is real life. You know, like you turn a certain age, and all of a sudden you start thinking like, I don't know, like, can I fuck around now? Like, I don't know. I feel like I have to take every decision I make now has to be serious. And
it's time to stop like imagining myself in these positions and time to start being like, okay, I need to put myself in these positions.
Yeah, and I don't think no one has to be like 100% serious all the time. You also do need to like fuck around and like some people do. I think like it's healthy to have like a whatchamacallit. It's healthy to have like both a serious and a non-serious like aspects, or I guess like position when you're dealing with life. But a lot of people have not a serious and non-serious. They have like a non-serious and nonchalant kind of like perspective when it comes to politics. And I think we have to start asking like, hey, did you vote? Who are you voting for? Like, next time I'm going to BC, I'm asking everyone who like. Tell me about the election. What happened? What's going on? You know.
Oh, like, BC was a wild one.
God.
We're gonna come back to that with Shrey. I figure if we covered the BC election without Shrey, he might kill himself.
I mean, it's still up in the air. So.
Oh, it's not. The results aren't.
It's pretty much a dead tie between NDP and Conservatives, so they're doing a recount to figure everything out.
Well, they're specifically doing recounts in ridings that are under 100 vote difference between the two candidates. Specifically. Mm-hmm. South Surrey and Juan de Fuca. I can't remember the riding's full name. Basically, the southern part of Vancouver Island and South Surrey are like the two ridings where there's like less than 100 votes between the two different candidates.
Yeah, and then there was also the one in Saskatchewan.
No, the one in Saskatchewan might happen. New Brunswick happened.
Oh, New Brunswick, and they went NDP, right?
No, there's no NDP in the Maritimes.
Who just went NDP?
It was the BC election. Between the NDP and the Cons.
Yeah.
And the New Brunswick election, the Liberal Party won a majority.
Okay, maybe I confused that with NDP. No. Okay, there you go.
There's no NDP in New Brunswick in the Maritimes?
I mean, there is. It's just it doesn't exist. Like the NDP got like 400 votes.
Canada parties also are sometimes just named differently from the federal party in some places.
This whole BC United thing really tripped me out. It's like I was very confused. Anyway, we'll save it for Shrey. I can't wait to hear his opinion on that.
The Saskatchewan election is going to be next Monday.
Okay. Damn. Yeah. There's like 5 elections around this time.
Do you think Trudeau called one before the end of the year?
A lot of people think so. I really have no evidence to support this. I'm going to say no.
He wouldn't call it. He would be forced to call one because he's a minority government. And if his government fails a confidence vote, which is very possible.
Oh, right. So, it's essentially just Jagmeet who's, like, staving it off, right?
Yeah. I'm going to say
because they blew up their deal, and it's now back to, like, voting on everything, so...
Didn't they vote recently? Did they try to have a vote of no confidence?
The Tories tried to do a confidence vote on the Liberals, but the NDP and the Bloc voted with the Liberals.
Oh, the Bloc also voted with the Liberals?
Yeah, because the Bloc has been...
they don't want an election right now. Yeah. Like, or at least for the NDP, I feel like the NDP, if they want to win...
Oh, my bad.
Good. Like, if the NDP wants to win, they need more time to rally people to their platform because, like you were saying with people who don't think about it, I have a feeling that a lot of people in this election are just voting Conservative because they're like, oh, grocery prices did go up. Trudeau's been there for a long time. I'll vote Conservative, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think it goes beyond that for a lot of people.
And I think fair. I don't think, and that's the thing where like don't go in aggressive. I think you should always acknowledge that yes, like I it's understandable why someone would want to vote for someone else because the grocery prices are bad now, but you also ask what's his name? Is it John Rustad, who also said I can't even. He's like this. He's a COVID denier. Like he's a whole bunch of stuff. I think like you ask people like, are you willing to like have this? Are you willing to like save $3 on your eggs and have this guy in power? Is that really what we're
well,
trying
chances
to do
are
now?
you're not even gonna save $3.
Like
you know, like it's gonna slow down the increase. But yeah, it's like, do you care about climate, and are you willing to back a party that? I think also Charlie Angus went on the offensive recently against a bunch of conservatives.
I think was it on Twitter?
Like, I don't know. I'm not on Twitter, but it might have been on Twitter.
I saw
and he was just asking people like, "Do you believe in climate change?" Going to the conservatives, and every single one of them just gave like, "Oh, you know, I think there's a lot of science and some of it's undecided."
Yeah.
And he was like, went to the next person until they just said that he was being belligerent and shut him out. But like, for a lot of people, like, most people care about climate change.
Mm-hmm.
And are you willing to back a party that doesn't even believe it exists fundamentally at its core? That's a big thing.
Did you guys go over the plan of action for the Conservatives in the episode?
No, is this for BC?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that only came out like two days before the actual election.
Yeah.
So when we recorded, we didn't have it yet, which is insane because we were covering the election because it was about to happen.
Every coverage I listened to was literally the same thing. But when it finally came out, I think they did the math and they have. Like they're poised to spend more money than the NDP than the NDP are anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're hoping that like the private company would the private industries would step in and like subsidize like healthcare. I can't even like.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's insane. So subsidize like healthcare and like education, and that is like what's gonna like make their the finances of their plan like cheaper than the NDP, but as it is now, it's more expensive. So people are literally voting on not knowing what's happening, and boy.
No, I have like a firm belief that I guess now that it's popped up, like if you want to lead a party like you should automatically just have security clearance. That's one thing that's like a recent popular pop-up that I need to go, but also like if you want to run a campaign, you should have all of your policies published like 3 months before the election date, if possible, or like a month before the election date at least, because like if you're voting for someone who put out a platform 2 days before the election, I know you didn't read that shit. No. Like everyone was talking about the budget thing. I was listening to all the news about it. I actually read most of that shit, and it sucked. I know they didn't read it. Otherwise, they would have talked about the shit I talked about.
Yeah.
And, like, no one read the platform. They're literally just voting for, like, someone because, you know.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Canada.
Yeah.
Canada. You know.
Will we ever make it out the sticks?
No.
Well, I guess we'll call the episode there.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, thanks for listening, y'all.